So, Steffi, thank you very much for this introduction. But especially, I want to thank you for bringing nature and also soil health on center stage of the DLD. And correctly, I should have said to bring it back on center stage. Because if you think about it, in almost all periods of human history, soil health, soil fertility was the #1 topic. So if you like, you could take some time travel a couple of thousand years back to, let's say, Uruk or Babylon, and go to whatever the DLD equivalent of that time was, and chances are you probably hear the same messages and you have the same discussions a couple of thousand years back. I find this a fascinating thought that I just wanted to randomly share with you before I wanted to talk about soil with you. So let's get started. Most of you probably think about soil as the substrate for our food production. And let's be clear, rightly so, 95% of our food are produced soil-based. However, there's so much more to it. Soil is where the lithosphere, the atmosphere, the hydrosphere, and the biosphere, the past and the present, by the way, all come together and create something new, something special. I would even say something really magic. Maria in the morning talked about the web of life. And indeed, there is magic below the ground. And there's value below the ground. But let's first talk about the magic, talk about biodiversity below the ground. Most people think, when they think about biodiversity, above the ground, about insects, animals, trees, plants. Well, biodiversity below the ground is a little less colorful and a little less big, but nevertheless very impressive. You heard about the 1 teaspoon that contains more organisms than the entire Earth contains people. But the thing I would like to bring across is we don't know yet a lot about what is on this teaspoon. We know only a fraction of the microorganisms that are in the soil. And we know even less about the interactions this biodiversity, this microbiome, has with the ecosystems around it. Magic #2, water. Healthy soil could be the perfect nature-based solution to deal with water events, be it too much water or be it too little water. And in that capacity, healthy soil as a nature-based solution could be even more effective, more efficient, and more scalable than engineered one. And don't get me wrong, I'm not arguing against engineered solutions here, but I think the combination of both could be the future of mitigating extreme water events in the future. And #3, carbon. We heard about this a lot today in the context of regenerative agriculture, but to make it very, very clear, the challenge to turn soil from a carbon source to a carbon sink is essential for meeting all greenhouse gas goals that we have. Now, I don't want to put a number to the value of soil, because obviously the value is beyond any price. But what we analyzed together with Naturschutzbund, and we have Max Meister here in the audience as one of the co-authors from Naturschutzbund, and you will meet Ben later in the breakouts. I want to put a number on the value of soil, but I want to put a number on what is the further potential that can be unlocked when we invest into making the soil even more healthier. And it's a substantial number. It's 14 billion euro, along improved biodiversity and microbiome of the soil, water use efficiency, carbon sequestration, and also improved nitrogen and phosphorus cycles, as well as improved yields for farmers. It's a substantial number because it justifies investments, it justifies attention, it justifies science. And we heard a lot about that the journey has already begun. We heard a lot about regenerative agriculture taking off in Germany. But the practices are just a start. There are also other levers that need to be pulled in order to really unlock this full potential. Number one is what we are already doing, talking about soil health. But number two, even more important, is science. We know very little about it, and soil science is a really, really complicated science. It's, I would argue, the decathlon of science. So you need to be a really good physics, chemist, biologist, microbiologist, molecular biologist, data scientist, all in one science. That's really a challenge. And so if you just look at the scientific publications out there, 85% of plant science ecosystem publications happen above the ground and just 15% below the ground. So it's all about science. Number two, it's bringing science to the field, science to practice. And there's always this cliche of the farmers that knows best what to do. That's wrong. A farmer was a co-author of this study. And he was very, very open to adopting these practices on his very farm. But it's not just this one way, science to practice. What is even more important is getting back from the field data into scientific models. Because this is what soil science is all about. Data, data, data. Number four, this is a long journey. It's a long journey that takes investments. And the investments pay off maybe 4, 5, 6 years after the investment. So there is a need to de-risk those investments, to bridge this time period until the investments have a positive impact on the P&L. And last but not least, investment is a good segue. This number really justifies investments. Investments into soil monitoring, investments into soil innovation, and investments into soil technologies. So with that, 20 seconds left on the clock, I wanted to thank you for your attention and wanted to invite you to a breakout session about this very topic, soil restoration. So hopefully I have whetted your appetite a little bit to talk about this very topic, which has been so important, not just in the history of mankind, but even more for the future. Thank you very much.